read today, but as Tim mentioned, that my second book of stories, Alone with the Owl, is his favorite, so I thought I would read a story from that. And then I met Leahy, one of my new colleagues who is from New Orleans, where I grew up. And then I got a call today from a friend who's a writer who's also a veteran. So it seemed like I was fated to read a story in my second collection called The Battle of New Orleans. And I'm going to read that. It's in the first person. I think it's self-explanatory. So hopefully it'll work without me saying anything else about it. Battle of New Orleans. I cured a guy once of schizophrenia against orders using ketchup. Despite my official title as a psychological aide, I considered myself a method counselor, trying to turn metal into gold, floating into the heads of patients the way I floated through my tour of duty. Just mind the store and keep Thompson in the day room so he don't have one of his fits, the chief social worker told me. She tied a pastel scarf around her neck. I don't want him messing around. Arching a penciled-in eyebrow, she looked up at me from her wheelchair. And I don't want to hear about no mischief from you. You hear? You hear what I'm saying? I can't keep covering for you when you screw up. Yes, ma'am, I said, floating politely through my shift. The tone was one of my masks. She scowled, taking the remark for the put-down it was intended to be. One more reprimand, and I was out the door. At that time in my life, every door revolved soon enough, occasionally for their reasons, but mostly for my own. She leaned toward me and gripped the wheels of her chair, but before the discussion had a chance to continue, her buddy, the behaviorist, hurried past in his fedora. She called out a greeting and trundled off with him to the van outside, the two of them discussing a new token system. The van was already packed with patients and staff, going on a field trip to the old fort downriver for a reenactment of the Battle of New Orleans. I had a sincere aversion to battles, so I was left on the ward with the incorrigibles. The on-duty nurse, complaining about her taxes, promptly wandered away into the administrative wing. Two of the incorrigibles screamed from time to time in their solitary padded cells. Thompson was in the day room. He was wearing a hat with dog ears and talking to a game show host. At the old fort, Cannon, the Union must and shall be preserved, Thompson shouted to the leisure-suited slickster on the television that was bolted to the wall above his head. Thompson motioned to me with a grandiloquent wave. Today, he said, I'm investigating everything there is to know about clay. I think about clay the way some people think about Christ. The right side of his face contracted spasmodically. Trigeminal neuralgia, according to the chart. Why don't you unlock the clay for me, counselor? Sorry, I said. We stay in the day room. Orders. Orders. Thompson put his tobacco-stained fingertips to his lips and kissed me off, then jumped up in his surplus pajamas to stare through the window mesh at a tangle of electrical wires and transformers across the yard. Clay, he said, is a fine-grained substance used in bricks and pots. Clay everywhere, man. You just don't have eyes to see. He tapped his forehead against the mesh. Living with clay is like where you live and going everywhere with you. You hear me? Everywhere. It's like voluntary. He sucked in his cheeks and turned to face me. His forehead was stippled from the mesh. I want the key, counselor. Give me the key. Give me the key now. I want out. Can't do it, I said. I lit up a Marlboro despite the no smoking sign. Orders are orders. Thompson studied me when the cannons started popping off again downriver. You were over there, weren't you, counselor? He made a gat-gat sound with his tongue and his teeth. You and me, counselor, he said, but we're going to get ours. We're going to make a movie using clay. We're going to tell everyone the truth. He picked up a thermoplastic chair and kicked it like a beach ball. It skidded into the baseboard under the shatterproof glass of the nurse's station. You and me, we don't belong here, counselor. He got in my face, leaning close to the Zippo in my hand, as though he wanted me to burn out his He had a shank in one hand, a sharp-edged homemade knife. I gave him the lighter and the smokes. There it is, Thompson, I said. Back off. Instead, he reached into the pocket of my starched shirt and grabbed a carefully folded piece of paper. The note was part of the ritual. Each day, I wrote to my girlfriend in Española in New Mexico, where she taught children how to read. I clocked out each afternoon and took the bus down St. Claude Avenue, past swayback houses and unpainted shotgun shacks. I mailed my note at the letterbox outside the A&P in the French Quarter, then walked home past the blind man who sat on the stoop of my apartment building. Thompson pointed with his shank to the mesh. It's an oven. Every time I get free, they turn up the heat and bake me like bread. He squeezed my collarbone. A helicopter flew overhead, going downriver, and I squinted, grinding my jaw. I told you to back off, Thompson, I said. I crossed my arms. Give me that note back. Say please. He grinned and stubbed out a cigarette. Say pretty please with a Marlboro. I'm not in the mood. Give it back, I said. I'll trade you for the clay. He slipped his shank into a pocket and unfolded my note. My, he mumbled, reading. My, oh my. He stared at me appraisingly. She do that kind of thing for you? Grow up, Thompson, I said. Sticks and bones, he said. Electroshock, insulin coma, enough Thorazine, kill a gorilla? None of that hurt me, counselor. You all tied me up 3 days and shot me up with that new drug. You remember that? Who you think gonna pay the next 20 years while you fuck your piece of ass out in the world? He turned his cap backwards. Dog ears flapped over his eyes. You remember the machines? You were there with the others. I was a piece of meat. He stalked away, still talking, but out of my hearing, as though my senses were shutting down. Give me the note, Thompson, and the shank. Put it on the table. You gonna make me, counselor? Pacing, he flicked the zippo and held it like a candle. His tennis shoes squeaked in rhythm with the outside squawks of river birds. All my treasures, counselor, taken long ago, he said. What's left? You think a smoke can buy me off? He ripped off a salute. What you don't know, counselor, is that in a year, 2 years, maybe 5 years, I'm going to look you up out in the world. You might not even remember me when your bell rings and you open your door, but I'm going to clean your clock real good. He about-faced and I snatched the cap off his head. It was the color of Mommy's surplice. I planted it, still turned around on my own head and tucked the dog ears away from my eyes. But Thompson didn't miss a beat. He didn't even notice. Have faith, the counselor tells me, have faith. In what, clay? You want me inside the clay all the time? What do you think this is, a church? Microphones in the walls, circuits in my head? You've been listening to me, counselor, through my root canals. You have the nerve to preach about faith? The woman on the television screamed and the man in a business suit. Cannon blasts downriver became intense again. All right, counselor, I said, planting myself on the sofa in his favorite spot. I'm you. What's next? Thompson puzzled over the switch. He squinted into the linoleum swirling around our feet, then reached in a pocket for a palmful of dehydrated peas. You know Boudreaux pissed in the peas, counselor, he said. Like I ate the peas, man, before I knew what that asshole was up to, so now I'm caught Boudreaux's piss. He held out the peas. I want these peas tested, he said. Put these peas in your bag. I did have a bag, which he knew about, filled with vitamins and the occasional capsule from the nerve pill jar. And he knew it, so I tossed the peas in there with the vitamin C and the Liberty. It's a trade, I said, the peas for the note. He scratched the stubble on his cheek. He had the shank in his hand again, its blade razor sharp. The note is personal, Thompson. Give it back. Shit on the peas, then. He stalked to the window mesh. You call that freedom out there? Look at them wires. You know what it feels like? Breathing high voltage? My tumor getting bigger every day? He made his hands into fists, stared down at me. That's why I have this tic de la rue. Electricity every goddamn day for weeks. Boosh, boosh. Jump-starting my head like a goddamn automobile. He pointed the shank at me. "You get me out of here, counselor." On the television, the woman's face contorted with betrayal as she held a phone to her ear. One of the guys in solitaire screamed out something about the New Orleans Saints. Cannon blasts and musket fire were popping off like the 4th of July. More helicopters passed overhead. The hospital became a listening post in country. Rats scurried past. A firefight raged above me. I stitched together my brows and stared into the linoleum. Then a squadron of jets roared close above us. They would be heading upriver. They would be tipping their wings. The Battle of New Orleans was over. "What the hell," I said. I tossed Thompson his cap. He held it by its well-thumbed visor. "War's over, Thompson. Time to celebrate." In the nurse's station, I opened a storage cabinet and lugged out a big, dusty cardboard box filled with 1,000 tiny packs of ketchup. 1,000 therapeutic doses, I thought. Enough ketchup in each pack to fill a syringe. He snapped his fingers. "It's been a long time since Mardi Gras, counselor. Man, a long time since I've had myself a beer on Decatur Street. God damn, I miss live music. When's the last time you heard live music, counselor?" He passed me the note. Here's the ticket, man. What you got in mind?" I pitched him a packet of ketchup. He used his cap like a scoop. Eyes electric, he stabbed the pack with the knife. I popped one myself. A circle of ketchup blistered in my palm. Another pack, another dollop of ketchup. This time erupting like a bruise on my white shirt. On the warpath, I painted my face with ketchup. Thompson sucked in his cheeks, pitched his nose, and reached for more ketchup. The right side of his face palsied. He plastered his stubbled chin with ketchup and shaved, using the shank like a razor. The blade mowed away some of the stubble and also plowed through the skin with each tick of his face. He filled the nicks with ketchup, then stood on a thermoplastic chair and smeared the television screen until the soldiers on the midday movie disappeared in a fog of ketchup. He put the stuff everywhere. Stickmen drawn on the nurses' shatterproof glass, ragged coins of ketchup on the day room walls, "Fuck you," finger painted on the door. He popped another pack, the kind that pushed through a bulletproof window at a fast food joint. He leaned toward a catcher he could see who stood behind the window mesh. He studied the signs and wound up and hurled a fastball. It splattered against the mesh as though the high voltage was becoming visible. He struck out everyone he faced with ketchup. He tossed the rest of the ketchup from the box hundreds of rounds. He danced on ketchup, some weird dance with one foot in the air, face palsied again like a broken traffic signal. He squirted ketchup everywhere until the day room was a mess, a holy mess, ketchup smeared like paint or ink. It made sense to me, and it made sense to Thompson. He was smiling, exhausted, gap-toothed, and full of goodwill. But it was one of those languages you make up as you go. The on-duty nurse, when she returned, would hardly understand or sympathize. I picked up the shank, glinting red. I had cured him, I could see. Cured him from the schizophrenia the chart said he had. But the place was a mess. I looked around the day room as though it was an x-ray of my insides, as though I'd peeled away a layer or two of skin. All the blood and guts from the wall were back, and the whole place smelled like a diner. I turned my sticky palms to the television where John Wayne was yelling, bristling with righteousness. It was the illusion of immortality all over me, as though I had descended into a listening post tunnel and was swimming downstream, breathing through slits in my face. Thompson rocked in his sneakers. When he flexed a wrist, snake-like scars of self-mutilation on the inside of his arm turned pale. His sneakers slid back and forth in the red grease with a sucking sound. His dog-eared hat forgotten on the tiles, ketchup dry on his stubbled cheeks. He stood at the nurse's window. "Don't have anything to do with an innocent victim, does it?" he said. "You putting me on the cross, ain't you, man?" He talked into his reflection, superimposed over stick figures and the cluttered nurse's station. Yeah, throw up your hands, he said. I've suffered because of you. A computer screen blinked and the telephone rang. Thompson's chart hung from a clipboard like a slab of meat. There was an empty slot next to my plastic name on the wall, as though I was out to lunch or had never arrived. I walked with the empty cardboard box and a knife past his flinty stare. As I washed up, he studied me silently, like an animal in the zoo, his brow puckered as though clearing the way for a new evolutionary idea. I walked to his chart. Cured with ketchup, I wrote, in ketchup. Breathing in and out, the deep psychic space of the day room almost palpable, as though I could commune with everyone who had spent or wasted a life. I was certain those three words would explain everything, even to the behaviorist and the social worker. I unbuttoned my shirt and left it on the nurse's swivel chair. The guy in solitary was shouting again, screaming out the lyrics to When the Saints Go Marching In. Thompson said, I can throw a clay counselor and make you disappear. It worked. Outside, I waited in my t-shirt for the bus. I was no longer wearing a mask. When the kit caboodle of patients and staff wheezed by in the hospital's old van, returning from the Battle of New Orleans, I caught a glimpse of a fedora, nodding up and down. At home, I found my pack, scrounged up a change of clothes, and caught a bus to Española, New Mexico. My girlfriend was surprised to see me, and not entirely happy, her late-night face full of cold cream and her underwear soaking in the tub. Even so, she listened until I talked myself hoarse. I told her about every firefight, every sucking chest wound, and every suck-off by every ward. She was a good and compassionate woman, and once I had been the face of her desire, but I quickly became the sadistic face of her misery. You have a low threshold of pain, don't you, I said, as I left her. I returned to Louisiana, the dream state. I figured that was where I belonged, back in New Orleans, where Mardi Gras and Lent, or year-long obsessions. My last paycheck from the hospital was waiting, along with a letter of resignation the chief social worker said she expected me to sign. If you need a recommendation, let me know, the note said. Try not to drink so much. Instead of signing the letter, I applied for unemployment benefits, and after a hearing, received a regular check in the mail. It was odd, not working. I lived in my shabby apartment above Royal Street in a kind of fever, so much time for discipline, so much for dissipation. Though the calculus was interior and complex, one thing was for certain: my career as a psychological aide was history. Another revolving door, despite the fact that I had cured a man of schizophrenia and ketchup. But I kept reading the books they had forced upon me. Feeling Good, Reality Therapy. I read other books as well, very different books about a man turning into a dumb beetle, and another man, impotent, falling in love with a promiscuous femme fatale. And each evening, when the sun went down and the blistered streets finished bracing, I put down my book on my bottle and walked Fred, the blind man, to the crowded aisles of the French Quarter A&P, its grocery store. It was my one obligation. He always wanted something spicy, like barbecued potato chips or pickled okra. Back on our stoop, chewing on his snack with delight, facing the street in his dark owl frames and greasy hat, he would listen to me. He was the only person on the face of the earth who listened to what I had to say when I was in that kind of mood. I talked about the tourists who gawked at everything on their way to Bourbon Street, or the locals who loitered in doorways and sat on spiderwork balconies, fanning themselves. I actually made him laugh at some of my stories. It was a life I might have lived forever, a schizophrenic's life. But one hot night when I couldn't sleep, the jazz from nearby Preservation Hall filtered through my window. Thompson floated into my head like a sapper, his tic-do-a-roo, keeping wild rhythm with the jazz. What's wrong with clay, he said, scatting out the words coming into my head. You got something against the Vietnamese? He snapped his fingers, his turned-around cap clamped over his eyes. What's wrong with ketchup? You don't like green peas? My room became a listening post. Faces filed past. Asleep, I spat them out like trinkets. The smell of ketchup was everywhere. It was the only dream I've ever had with an odor to it. I tried to hold fast to the dream, stay with the smell of the gas, read it like a book. The light came through my bare window, and I was afraid not to open my eyes. I walked hungover to Jackson Square, where I sat on a wrought iron bench under a palm tree. Street artists were setting up their easels around the square. Andrew Jackson, the savior of New Orleans, was rearing up in the oldest equestrian statue in the country. He was tipping his hat, freshly scrubbed with pigeon droppings. Homeless people were getting rousted from under planks of cardboard and blankets of old newspaper and stumbling into the new day, holding out their hands and mumbling. A few came my way, but I had nothing to give them. I'm going to the river, I said. Come along if you want. One told me to go get fucked. Not a bad idea, I said. But an emaciated man wearing a Saints t-shirt came with me, and we talked the way people in New Orleans do, just passing the time. Every step we took was awkward and painful because he was full of rheumatism and because one of my legs was completely asleep. I couldn't wake it up, but we helped each other over the levee and sat together near the water for a long time, listening to how a big river moves. When a tanker's whistle shrieked a stone's throw away, the old man stood up. He was permanently tilted to one side after too many nights of sleeping on pavement. But he started swaying, and then I could hear taps on his shoes click on the concrete until the sound he made with his feet had something to do with those sweet circles of ketchup that had cured Thompson of schizophrenia. He danced for me a long time. And when he was finished, I nodded and smiled and pulled out my empty pockets so that he could see I had nothing to give him. He went off in the direction of the aquarium, where glass sides glinted in the bright sun. And I spent the rest of the morning and most of the afternoon staring into the brown and silty water rushing past me, hearing conversations in my own language and in languages that did not and never would be mine. Or never would belong to me. Then I listened to the water that seemed bright like metal in the afternoon glare, and it was discipline and not dissipation. It was easy to imagine myself on board one of the monster freighters that wailed on its way downriver. I thought about where it had been and where it might find itself, in the Gulf of Mexico, in the ocean, on the other side of the world. And who knows, maybe back again. And it was all ketchup, and I was using it. Any questions or anything like that you'd like to ask? Or comments?
I'm curious about, I love this piece. I've always been very activist myself about trying to write characters suffering from mental illness or fear that my ignorance of how those things are make it seem false. I'm curious about, did you have the same information, or did they have at some point like work with schizophrenics to know how the characters should
I worked for a couple of years in it was called the CSTU, the Corrections Special Treatment Unit, Louisiana Departments of Corrections. If you've never lived in Louisiana, it's hard to explain how terrible it is down there for people who are poor. But, and particularly for people who are not only poor, but have also been put in prison. The prisons at this time were so bad that a federal judge ordered the state of Louisiana to decentralize their prisons. So one thing they did was take Angola, the big state prison, and they took people who they determined had mental illness and put them in Jackson Barracks. Army, it's owned by the military, but they rented it to state corrections units so there could be a prison on the border of New Orleans and Chalmette. And that's where they started this STCU. So part of this, I mean, a lot of it's fiction, but I did work with a lot of people. Not Thompson, I actually based his character on Hunter Thompson, the crazy guy who was a wonderful writer himself. A bit of that, and then some other people that I knew. But I wrote several stories about that, some of them essays, some of them fiction. It takes empathy, and you've got to be careful. It's easy to stereotype and caricature. anybody who's extreme in their behavior. And if somebody's mentally ill, of course, we all know the dangers of making them appear to be less than they are, of reducing them, so that they're not human beings or something less than human beings. But if you're a writer and you're being as honest as you can, you just write and rewrite until you get it as good as you can, and people give you feedback about whether it works. One way to do that, it would be hard to have mentally ill people maybe comment on writing about them. But Rodney Doyle, the Irish writer, was a man, wrote a book, a very good book, in my opinion, called The Woman Who Walked Into Doors, about a woman who was abused, physically abused for years. When he finished the book, he did an interesting thing. He took it to a woman's shelter and said, can you just let anybody who will read this book read it and tell me if it works or not, if it's honest in terms of how they feel about how they were treated. So you can also get feedback from lots of people who've been through the kinds of things that you're trying to write about. You're not only in your own writing, it's not only direct experience and observation, it's also research and feedback from many people who've experienced the things you're trying to write about. Does that help? Yeah. Any other questions? Comments? Well, thank you.